It says there's there's a flower emoji, and then like a fart cloud, or a cloud of
Smoke.
smoke.
Flowers do.
Oh,
Flower and female advocate.
and you're a female advocate. What is that? What is a female advocate?
So I stand for like women's rights and passing cannabis and its healing benefits. So
No, so ignoring the flower part. I'm just the female.
So you just want to talk about the female
the
part?
female advocate part. What do you mean?
Like speaking, so I started like a blog that teaches women like safety aspects and things to look for to protect themselves, or certain like stigmas too that are becoming a norm, that women feel they're supposed to be subjectified or like looked at, perceived this way, or you know.
What ways?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, like being taught like certain things happen to you are okay and it might not be, like being talked down to or things like
But
that.
who thinks talking down to women is okay?
A lot of people do in the South. And coming
For
from
no
like an
reason?
Asian culture too, like
Some men
women
just
were
hate women.
put down. Yeah, women were put down, and like if you have more than two daughters, like one of them gets killed because they want to keep the ratio
What?
of women down. Yeah, it's
Let's talk
Like
about
in
today, though.
China for
yeah.
Like, who does that today?
In Asian culture, yeah, growing
Yeah,
up
that's
in an
true.
Asian household.
She's right. It's 100% true. In China, in the one-child policy, they favor men, right?
Crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I know men still talk down upon girls, because I was talking to a guy once and he was just like coming to the conclusion that all girls are broke and all girls are stupid.
I mean, a lot of women think all men need to do better, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's just a people thing. I don't think it's a female-male thing. I think a lot of women say every day how you have women saying, you can't take me to Cheesecake fucking Factory. You know what I'm saying? So women talk down to men a lot. So I don't think that's just something that happens to women. I think more women are talking down to men than it is men talking down to women. I think the men that are talking down is in response to years of being talked down by the women in society.
I think it's the other way around. I feel like women are finally now, after being talked down for so long, are now like, because women's rights and everything, that's been a new thing from like the 1900s that we're like brought into, and we're still fighting for a lot of our rights.
Which rights are those?
Here we go.
Our right to vote
Abortion
started. We didn't get
Wait,
our
hold on,
abortion
hold on,
rights.
No. Hold on. Let's do one at a time. Okay. Right to vote. Women
That was-
secured the right to the vote in the 1920s. That's over a century ago.
I know, but how long have we as humans been alive and women weren't allowed to
How
vote?
long have men been allowed to vote? Why don't you tell
Well,
me what that is?
Since they started it, I believe.
Since they
No.
started.
Since the voting.
Men were only given the right to vote
So
about 20 years before women.
as men or women, who started the right to vote? Who decided, okay, voting is going to be a thing?
People in power.
Initially,
People in power who
the-
were.
I'll explain it to you.
You didn't think they were queens?
So initially, the way that the nation was set up as a republic was not that people were supposed to be voting at all, right? So that wasn't how it was set up. There was no universal suffrage. Men only got the right to vote about 20 years before women, roughly. And that was only in some select places. So it was never universalized to men or women. So the idea that women have been conventionally oppressed over men is silly. The nation wasn't set up that way. It was set up instead where your officials would actually do the voting. That was the way it was supposed to be set.
But they are all
At-
men.
Yeah, at that time, who were allowed to be selected officials?
White men
Yeah,
at that.
well, hang on. You say men, but you're actually incorrect there too. It couldn't be any man. It would have to be a select. So in this case, usually it was people who were stakeholders. They were landholders or this type of thing. They had to have select
Power, money.
characteristics. So it wasn't just men. When you say men, you put them in a monolith. Almost no man has ever had power in history. Almost none. Almost zero.
A lot of men.
It's a small group of men. I mean, as
But-
compared to males, but most men don't have power. It's just that the seat of power is often sat by a man, but that doesn't mean that's the majority.
We have a chart here, actually, if you can go ahead and pull that up. So this is countries with universal right to vote. This does not consider elections not being held, informal restrictions or legal restrictions based on age, criminal conviction, disability, and local residency. So at the bottom there, you have the year, and they're tracking this back to the late 1700s. Brown indicates no universal right to vote. Light blue indicates universal right to vote for men only. And the blue is universal right to vote for men and women. There's a very, very short period of time in history where only men had the right to vote. For the vast majority of history, when we're talking about the general populace, men did not have the right to vote.
And one thing,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Essentially none. The
isn't that a
idea of the
50-year
elongated
gap, though?
female oppression Olympics is nonsense.
A 50-year gap?
Yeah, can
On
I
that
see the
chart?
chart again?
Sure.
Because
And
he
I have
said it's
another one,
only
too.
been 20 or 30 years, but
That's like
that,
Well, it depends on
It's
the
for the
country.
world.
It
He's talking
depends
about
on the
America.
country.
no.
I
He
have
said
another-
20 to 50 years, 20 to 30 years between men and women.
In America.
Yeah, in the United States. that's
Oh, this
correct.
is universal. Okay.
But one thing I've noticed with women is like, y'all will talk about the right to do something, but you're not thorough with that right. For example, right? It seems like women just want to participate just to say that we can do it too. But when it comes to exercising the thoroughness of that right, they don't do it. So in other words, when you ask a man why he voted for something, he'll break down legislation, he'll break down policy. When you ask a woman why did she vote, it's for something very superficial. So a lot of women seem like they fight for certain rights, but just to say they have them, not actually being an active participant in the thoroughness of the responsibility. It's like they just want a participation trophy just to say. It's like when you got a kid that just want to play with you. You give your kid, so you want a cell phone, so you give them a cell phone with no battery just so they can feel like they're on the phone, but they really ain't talking or calling nobody.
It's like advocating, and I don't think there's anything wrong with women.
I'm talking
advocating
about
for other
voting,
women.
like
I know.
voting.
and
Like
you
most
can-
women,
you can
when they
advocate
vote,
for
they don't
abortion
never know
rights,
why
but
they
you don't want an
voted.
abortion.
But I think that's a lot of people. A lot of America and a lot of the world isn't educated to
Exactly.
know wholly what they're.
No, you're right, but that seems like more men are, because and it seems like men, when men are speaking about voting, they're speaking about something that benefits the many. It seems like women get involved in voting strictly for the benefits of women only. So to me, if you're getting into these positions just to focus on one gender, that's not even a leadership attribute, because a leader looks after the whole. It seems like when women get power, they look after women. And I think that's probably why they was prohibited from a lot of things, because y'all just see your side and your gender. You don't look at the group. Like, even for example, right? I don't mean to talk too much, but there was Ice Cube was on a show called Cocktails with the Queens. It was Vivica Fox. There was I think Selena Johnson, Lisa Ray, and like another woman. So this was around the time when Biden and Trump was going at it a couple years ago. So Ice Cube was contacted by two political parties. He said the Democrats contacted me because Ice Cube made a plan called the Plan for Black America. So he said, the Democrats said, we'll help you with your plan after we get in office. He said Trump and the Republicans reached out to him and said, hey, we want to implement your plan now. So when he was speaking this to black women, he was saying, hey, this is a plan for black people, and black people includes black men, black women, black boys, black girls. But the black women on the show said, hey, that sounds good, but what's in it for us? So the fact that a man is saying, I'm getting legislation pushed for black people, and women heard that and still distinguished themselves from the group to focus solely on themselves, to me speaks to a pathology where women, when they get a taste of power, they're not thinking about the many, they're just thinking about themselves.
Yeah, because we live in a patriarchal society where we're already way more oppressed than men.
How
So
you
yes, we have
oppressed?
to-
You're able to do whatever the hell you want to do.
We got to take one thing at a time. Let's bring it back. We'll get into the patriarchy. We'll get into the oppression. You said that you're in the female advocacy. So you said women's right to, or I'm trying to remember
We started with the right to vote, and then now coming on, right?
But
you spoke on education.
Okay. Oh, education? So do you realize that, like, when it comes to college education, there's, like, I think the breakdown is 60% women, 40% men. So is this evidence of oppression towards men?
No, this is a now thing. These are things.
No,
that
it's
just
been
started
since the
happening.
1980s.
But prior to that,
Women have surpassed men when it comes to.
Because you gave us the opportunity, we ran with it. We were like, okay, now we.
Oh, okay.
Now
So
we
just
take
to be
the
clear,
education.
so is your position when there's a discrepancy and this discrepancy negatively impacts women in some conceivable way, or there's less representation of women in a field or in some beneficial metric, that's evidence of sexism, patriarchy, oppression. But when men are either overrepresented in a negative component or underrepresented in like a positive sense, then that's just not sexism, not oppression.
No, oppression is when it's forced against somebody, and it's like,
What's forced?
or it's like it's stated like they're not allowed do this, or you can't do that, or not allowing somebody to be.
Yeah, women have been allowed to go to these.
And that's why now we're doing so great.
You really?
Like
You
a lot
are?
of women. He just said 60% of women
But
are
that
going
don't, just because you in school
to
don't mean you're doing great. There's women that
That's the
graduated.
thing that is great though.
Damien,
But
pull up
don't
the Discord,
statistics
please.
show that like women graduate more than men and women are more
I know
educated than
dudes with a
men?
CDL and
They always have,
a
yeah.
jacket.
But I'm talking about I'm talking about demographics, not just knowing one person.
Infographics.
But what I'm saying is
Demographics.
this: graduating doesn't equate to success.
It's
I know
success,
people
But it's
who have.
success to some people.
Successful, yeah.
It depends on what you went to
It's not-
school
that's not
for.
what
If
I'm
you go
talking
to school for a bachelor's degree in African American studies, you're gonna make less money than a dude with a GED and a CDL. So women leaning on getting a degree to me speaks to a participation trophy. You judge a tree by the fruit it bear. If you got a degree and you making 100,000, great. But if you don't got a degree and you're making 100,000, that's great too. So getting a degree doesn't mean anything if it hasn't propelled your life.
It's another topic though.
And
Damien,
most
can you
women
pull
get
up-
degrees and don't
Damien,
propel
can you
their
pull up the Discord? You're gonna click on the first college one. All right. Percentage of U.S. population who have completed 4 years of college or more from 1940 to 2021. So that the change occurred. Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on.
Looks like it's going.
Oh, who have completed. Okay, so this isn't like on a yearly basis. This is like in totality. So it's counting people who graduated in like 1940. There's a different graph that'll indicate starting in 1980, there were more women starting in about 1980 that started going to college than men. Pull up the next graph. You can just use the arrows. U.S. college degrees by gender. So female 58, male 41. Next. This is enrollment. So looking at 2014 is the most recent one. For this one, 7.5 million males, 2 million more females. Back in 2014, that number's even higher, or there's a bigger difference. Massive. U.S. college. U.S. college enrollment by gender. So yeah, you do see the flip in 1980. This is on a yearly basis. Next. Men and women study different things. This is kind of important. Next. Total number of students. Oh, this is for the local university, UCSB. Women, 61. I think it's the local university. 61% here in Santa Barbara, 39% men. Next. Percentage of all college degrees, 1980. Yeah, 1981 was the switch. Next.
Women have gone
next.
to show.